Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Invictus. Today, we wanted to talk to you about our elves. We really enjoyed putting our own unique spin on elves. We are trying to make them a little bit different than you might have seen in some other settings, but there's a lot of commonalities, so they're going to look similar to ones that you've seen before. Apparently, my camera is having a good time. But anyways, our elves, really live in a contradiction. They live in sort of almost a tortured state. They're trying to strive for this balance between nature and civilization. Elves have this strong urge to preserve and to keep what used to be, and to also remain relevant. So if they just sit in their little elven cities and let the rest of the world go by, then there's not as much as they can do. The first big difference between our elves and others that you might have seen is our elves lived about 120 years. But elves, as it turns out, bear a striking resemblance to one of their parents. So you might see a portrait of an elf and think, gosh, that guy lived 300 years ago. And it leads to this perception that elves have a very long life. Elves look very much like one of their parents, which leads to the misconception that they have hundreds of years of lifespan. But they don't. They live a little longer than many others, but about 120 years is where we go. So let's jump into the meat and the bones, character creation, your elf. So we have their average height, right? So remember, we're benchmarking everything to humans. And so they're about the same height as humans, which means they have a very similar movement to humans, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. They gain no reach advantage. However, elves are of a slight build. And what does that mean? Well, it means that they get an extra amount of wounds, and it means that they get a slight bonus to their agility. Elves are also a medium size. They're a little less hardy than humans, so they have a minus to their fortitude, but they're good at keeping their cool, so that gives them either a bonus to composure or to resisting psychic temptation, a bonus to their psyche. Now, what about their other special abilities? We're used to in other games of elves having things like dark vision and stuff like that. So what do? Well, our elves have keen senses. So they have a +2 to all perception checks involving hearing, sight, or smell. This is, I think, pretty standard elvish fare and a pretty powerful ability. Elves also are intrinsically wired to improve the state of knowledge and understanding of things in the world. They are ameliorators. And so that gives them a bonus to the starting number of knowledges. It also gives them a slight bonus to how quickly they gain new ones in play. And this is part of just kind of how elves are wired. And a side effect of this is in our setting, Elvish is kind of like Latin. It is the language that much historical knowledge is written in. And so if you go to one of the few big libraries and you access older information, it's likely to be written in Elvish. Now, what about dark vision? We don't have dark vision. Well, we do, but player characters don't have it, right? I think that was one of the best things that Shadowdark did, was they said, get rid of dark vision. It's really ruining your game. And I totally agree with that. So we don't have dark vision. What we do have is something called spirit sight. And so what is this? Elves, they basically take a turn. They spend one of their daring. And if you haven't seen our other videos before, all characters have a pool of daring and tenacity. This is a limited resource that's used to power all of your special abilities, your class abilities, your genus abilities, etc. And this comes back very slowly. So it's not like, all right, I'm out of daring, I'll take a long rest, poof, I've got it all back. This is a resource that regenerates slowly. So choosing to use your spirit sight is actually a pretty big deal in this setting. So anyways, what do? You take a turn adjusting your eyesight. That means if you're in combat, that's your turn to do that, right? So you're not going to use spirit sight in combat, right? Otherwise, you're taking some amount of time outside of combat to do this. And what you then do is you peer into the ethereal realm. You get to now view the flow of magic. You get to see basically a superposition of that spiritual magical world that's normally hidden to our view and the world that we're in now. So let's say you come up to a door and you're trying to figure out, is it magical or something? You activate your spirit sight and you don't see magic flowing any differently around that door. Or in the spirit realm, you see huge magical structures. So you know that door is warded. Let's say, you are coming to a river and you're trying to figure out if it's safe to get across and you decide to activate spirit sight. You might notice unmanifested spirits hiding in that water hoping to drown you. So spirit sight is a way of looking at things and getting a perception of them, but it has a real cost. You could try to use it like a dark vision. However, it is not very effective. It's got a range of about 20 feet, and you're simply seeing the flow of essence around it. So you might see a huge concentration of bios essence telling you there's a living creature over here. Or you might see a big concentration of necrotic essence telling you that there's undead creatures. But you're not going to have any idea what you're seeing, any idea what you're looking at. It's going to be very vague. So this is a unique ability. Only elves have it. But it gives you a way of seeing the world and gaining information about the world that I don't think is game breaking. And it's never, I have dark vision, I'm okay. It just doesn't work that way. Our elves, like other Genos, suffer from banes, right? Some curse they got from the Forgotten Ones. And one of those banes they have is despair. If you're new to our system, what are banes? Banes are an affliction that basically all Genos have. And when you gain a certain amount of fatigue, there's a chance that you'll succumb to one of your banes. And so one of the banes that might affect your elf is despair. And that is basically, elves are the history keepers. They're the ones who keep track of everything. They see all the cycles of mortal life and kind of human history and the wider history of the world. They see the cycle of suffering. And sometimes it's just too much. They just can't handle it, and they give in to despair. Well, conversely to that, some elves just can't understand, why do people keep doing things that are foolish, right? Why would you continue to make stupid choices, right? And that is the bane of arrogance. And then the third bane that we have is perfectionists. Some elves get so stuck in the idea of doing something correctly because it's going to stand the test of time, they have to do it right. Because if you make a flawed copy of something, you're saying that's the best we could do. And that's just simply not good enough for you. So banes are a way of adding some kind of inner party dynamics, adding some kind of deeper depth to your character that sort of keep things from ever becoming too complacent. I hope you enjoyed our sort of walkthrough of the elves here. Our rules for character creation will be posted fairly soon. If you want to check those out, head down to the Discord server there, and we'd love to talk to you. Hey, thanks a lot. Goodbye for now.